Ladies, gentlemen, Haradrim, and exiles of all ages, it's a big important week in the world of ARPGs. Diablo likes? No, that sounded very weird. I don't like that. I think ARPG will do for now. And so today we're going to be talking about some of the recent goings-on with both Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2 to keep you caught up with the juggernauts of the genre right now, especially this coming week. First things first, we should start with Path of Exile 2, as it's had the most major item of note happening recently, which is yesterday, for about an hour, the floodgates opened and a bunch of early reviews for the early access of the game happened before the early access has publicly began. And then after a very short amount of time afterwards, every single one of these reviews was set to private or deleted. The reason? Your guess is as good as mine as far as the actual official answer. My guess is that there was some sort of mix-up with the NDA date where a bunch of people were told the wrong time or day, and stuff went up before somebody realized the mistake, and then they had to go into full damage control as quickly as possible. The other option is that there was just a lot of backlash at the concept of these reviews being as early as they are and what they mean, and so they hit it, but I think that's much less likely. That said, there was a lot of information and just general opinions to absorb from all of these reviews happening, even for a short amount of time, and in this time, this Twitter user here collected as it was happening to show a representation of reviewers' different feelings and reactions to Path of Exile 2. So this is just a nice list that directly tells us all of these things in a single place. When I spoke to the developers themselves, they said the campaign was expected around 25 to 30 hours, but most of the reviewers are apparently saying closer to 35 to 40 for them, though this is something that speeds up rapidly with any experience, and of course you do have to redo the campaign on cruel difficulty in this early access version. This is being referred to a lot as the Dark Souls of ARPGs by a few different people, and I can agree with that from my time playing it as a pre-release as well. It can be tough and demanding in the actual combat, but there are combinations of skills and items and such that can totally break the game and its difficulty and bend it entirely to your will. There are no difficulty options, there's no different settings really, and it's not easy to begin with. The boss fights are challenging and plentiful, but really satisfying to actually overcome. You won't necessarily beat every one of them the first time that you fight them. It might take you some learning, you might have to learn some of their patterns, you might have to learn some of their mechanics, work out some puzzles, but you will enjoy them when you actually do manage to beat them. The individual maps within PoE 2 are much larger than you may be expecting, along with the campaign at least, compared to PoE 1. You can get lost in a single zone for a large period of time, and that's where a lot of the extra campaign length could come from as well. There is a ton to discover in terms of consistently weaving in new mechanics, things like ascendancies to unlock once you reach them, then items and components of your builds too, and even the lore as well. It's a lot easier to respec skills than it is in the first game, and there is a crazy potential for different builds as well. The game is absolutely gorgeous. The art direction to begin with is great, the graphical fidelity of the actual skills too, and all of the little details around the world as well. Controller gameplay in this game actually feels really good with it as well, and I can personally back that up from my own experience too. I did play on controller at one of the events that I've done for the game, and it did feel fantastic. There's also reports of bugs and crashes, which is of course to be expected, given that this is an early access release to begin with. It won't be perfect, it won't necessarily be smooth. However, even with all that said, pretty much everyone who has tried it agrees on one big thing. This game, once it goes through its early access and hits its actual proper full release, has the potential to be one of the best ARPGs of all time. And some of the reviewers who have actually completed the 3 acts of the currently existing campaign are saying that the developers might even be considered greats after this within the genre, on the same level of From Software and Larian Studios, which is extremely high praise for an RPG. There's further responses about this and discourse, of course, about whether it should have even been an early access thing or a private server or whatever this is, and I don't really have a horse in that race, so to say, but game reviews are always going to be a thing, and I get it, but clearly there was some sort of disconnect here in communication along the way that had just a lot of these reviews out a fair amount earlier than they were intended to be, which does make sense to me, as Saturday is definitely an unusual day for an NDA to break, as these usually happen on weekdays when PR representatives are actually in the office and able to keep an eye on these things happening. Simple as that. So it doesn't surprise me that this wasn't correct. Aside from that, we have a bit of a roundup of some recent Diablo 4 conversations. Nothing really new from the developers, which makes sense as we approach the PTR release on this coming Tuesday, but a lot of what I've seen is a continuing sense of sort of lack of interest in playing more of Season 6. And honestly, that's not really a problem. This post talks about the endless endgame grind to Paragon 300, how it's not unachievable, but currently there's just nothing to actually incentivize playing enough to reach it. I am firmly of the mind that 300 Paragon is not something any player players should necessarily expect to reach in a season. It should not be your main goal of the season. It should just be something that, hey, if you do happen to hit it, that's great. But it should be a bonus for playing the other activities that you actually want to spend time doing, rather than your actual main goal of playing in the first place. The other main post here is another simple one. Why can't boss mats be stacked more than 50? This is a great question about a ton of different parts of the game. Really isn't even exclusive to boss mats. Storage as a concept has been an issue since the beginning of the game, and a part of what causes this is just the amount of different slots things take, especially consumables and things like dungeon keys, which just don't stack enough as they should. And in the case of dungeon keys, they don't really stack at all, with the exception of now infernal compasses now stacking in the actual new patch with Season 7. That said, it's just too easy in the game, even still with this, to reach a point where you are generating more of consumables than you have space for in your inventory. It just doesn't feel good to leave these things behind to begin with. That just about does it for today, then, everyone. Just your general roundup of what has been going on in the ARPG community over the past few days. I hope you've enjoyed this, and good luck to you all with your adventures this week, whether they be in the Diablo PTR, Path of Exile 2, or otherwise, of course. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.